Alrighty, so we're going to look at Nebraska. All right, we're going to look at the Nebraska Cornhuskers here of the Big Ten Conference. We're going to recap 2024 for about 8 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to get on with 2025. All right, this is a very interesting football program. This is one that has one of the biggest bowl streaks in terms of not getting to a bowl game in a very long time. They were able to break it last year with a win over Wisconsin late in the season. Overall, Dylan Raiola, you thought that the team would look a little bit better. Looking back on the schedule, you had a big win over Colorado at home. Okay, the defense was flat out incredible. Tony White and Tommy Robinson, Tommy St. Hill, everybody was just, flying on all cylinders to create just a wonderful spectacle at Memorial Stadium. So the Huskers played wonderful in that football game. Like that was big time stuff for Nebraska. Then we look at, Northern Iowa. They kill Northern Iowa, right? And, the season's going really, really well. But then Illinois, they lose to an overtime. They're 3-0 at that time. They lose to Illinois. Then they beat Purdue, okay? And they beat Rutgers, and they win really ugly. The offense is terrible in both of those games, the special teams. They only score 14 points against Rutgers and against Purdue. They're 5-1, I believe, at this time. And they're going into a bye week, okay? But still, the process is just not very good. And then when they play Indiana on the road, big noon at Indiana, Bloomington, they lose that game, guys. They lose that game 56-7. They were downright terrible in that game, and Indiana just walked them in that football game. And that's really where you saw Satterfield terrible. You saw the defense just totally quit on Nebraska. The team was not ready to play. And having a first-year coach and Coach Cignetti just absolutely walk you out of his own stadium is just so inappropriate on so many different levels that you lose that game by that many points. You do lick your wounds and come back the following week against Ohio State. Believe it's another noon game for Ohio State. You catch them sleeping a little bit. You have a lead late in the third and fourth quarter of that game, and you kind of squander a game in which you actually could have beaten Ohio State at that time. You kind of played them like how Michigan played Ohio State. Ohio State wasn't that team yet. You caught them at the right week. You weren't able to win that game. Then you come home and play UCLA, and UCLA at this time was terrible, but UCLA was getting a little bit better with Deshaun Foster. Like they were trending up, and credit to UCLA, they really got their act together, and Satterfield, the offense just wasn't very good again. Dylan Raiola made big mistakes. And then Connor Garbers comes in there, and UCLA beats Nebraska at home 27-20. So 3 straight losses there in the middle of the season. Really, really brutal. Now you're 5-4 headed to Southern Cal. At Southern Cal, you lose a game 26-20. Never really had control of the game. It was the first game, though, with Dana Holgerson. The play calling was a little bit better. Decent competition. The team played better. Against Wisconsin, you put it all together. This was a much-needed win for Nebraska. Along with the bowl win, this game was a much-needed victory for Nebraska. Then they play Iowa. Again, they squander that game. I mean, they let up a Caleb Johnson run late in the game. They miss a field goal from about 32 yards out. Their offense is downright bad again, and they should have beaten Iowa. I mean, I don't think Iowa crossed midfield. I think Iowa had a linebacker playing quarterback, and that's classic Iowa-Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska has been right in these games, and Iowa always beats them at the end of the game. They always let Iowa kind of hang around. Okay, and then Boston College. They win an ugly game, but Dylan Raiola swagging a little bit, like going up and bolstering the Boston College's bench. And then you had Ramir Johnson and his heroics. So what I took from that season last year, What I took from the season is Marcus Satterfield, offensive coordinator, gets fired midway through the year. So again, Matt Rhule admits that he doesn't have his guy. Garrett McGuire and the wide receivers, underwhelming, not that good. Garrett's going now to Texas Tech. Tony White, now he ends up leaving Nebraska. Phil Snow ends up coming back. A little bit of dysfunction with Matt Rhule and Tony White on calling the defense. Tony White wants some more independence. He's going now to Tallahassee. That defense was pretty good. It's going to be a risk now with their new defensive coordinator, okay? Butler is the new defensive coordinator. Isaiah Nayer, Jamal Banks, they lose a lot of production at wide receiver. Thomas Fidone as well. Feel-good story, Thomas Fidone. So they're losing their tight end. They're losing a running back in Ramir Johnson. They keep their offensive line pretty well together, intact. Let's look at now our roster for this upcoming year. Let's look at the Husker roster. Okay. So Nebraska. The roster. All right, we got Dane Key out of Kentucky. He's going to be a big facet here with their new wide receivers coach, who also came from the University of Kentucky. This is going to be massive, okay, for Nebraska. All right, Dane Key is a massive, massive player for Nebraska. You get Cortez Mills, who's a fast wide receiver, okay. Looking here, Demetrius Bell is still on the roster, but really Jacori Barney. Jacori Barney is going to try to be like the Trey Palmer of this football team. He's going to do everything. He's going to have punt returns. He's going to have kick returns. Okay, tight end-wise, really want to see Carter Nelson get healthy, and I want to see him beat out Heinrich Harburg, who's a quarterback turned tight end. You also have Luke Lindenmeyer at tight end, but really I think Emmett, I think that Carter Nelson from Ashworth, or he's from the northern part of the state. Carter Nelson is just an athletic freak, a three-star athlete. A three-sport athlete, okay? On the offensive line, you have stability, okay? Just reading down this roster, you got a guy named Justin Evans. You got Henry Lutowski. You still even have Teddy Pino-Ass down, Teddy Prohaska. Elijah Pritchett is a transfer, okay, who is a real five-star guy, I think, at Alabama. The offensive line's looking really, really good. Carter Nelson's a weapon. I'd say that the X factors are Carter Nelson and Jacori Barney. Really, it's Jacori Barney and then Emmett. I'm really confident in Emmett Johnson. I like how they didn't get any other running backs. I think Emmett's going to be the guy. Defensively, this defensive line really scares me. There's not a lot of depth here. You lose Tommy Robinson. You lose the polar bear Nat Hutmacher. The defensive line's looking really, really thin for Nebraska. Then in the secondary, you're going to get Buford back. You're going to get Singleton back. I like Malcolm Hartzog a lot. I think he's out of Mississippi. He was the Mississippi Player of the Year. Yeah, he was. Okay, so again, I like Hartzog. I think he's a baller. So I think the secondary is going to be pretty damn good. McCullough from Oklahoma is somebody that is a big-time, kind of question mark. So overall, looking at this roster here, Elijah Judy, Riley Van Poppel, the defense is, I think, going to be okay. The offense has a chance to be pretty damn solid. So, all right, let's look at Nebraska, okay? Let's look at who their coordinators are. Offensively, you have Dana Holgerson. This is going to be a huge key, is Dana working with Dylan Raiola. Okay, this is going to be massive, massive, massive stuff. Dana Holgerson working with Dylan Raiola. That's going to be the real storyline of the season, is can you get Dylan and Dana to be simpatico, okay, for this football season. All right, so we are going to now look at, the schedule, okay, and basically Nebraska's DC, which I'm going to just clarify is John Butler, I believe from the Buffalo Bills, 9 years with the Bills and a friend of Matt Rhule. So pretty interesting. First game at Cincinnati, all right? We're working this game out together. Hopefully it's like Colorado. Hopefully you win by 2 touchdowns. You have more talent than this Big 12 team has. Now, Cincinnati does have a quarterback that in their head coach I don't really like. He's from Appalachian State. It's very mediocre Satterfield. It's another Satterfield, actually. It's a bland football coach. You get a quarterback that has a really big arm at Cincinnati. You're going to get a pro-style offense with Scott Satterfield's, football team. You're going to get a quarterback at Cincinnati that I happen to actually like his arm. I think he actually has a really good arm, the Cincinnati quarterback, but I believe that if Emmett Johnson could stay on the ground and run the football, I believe Nebraska can win this game probably about 27 to about 13 or 27 to 17. I think that they can be, in control. It's Brendan Sorsby who actually played at Indiana. I think Nebraska can be in control of this game. I think Nebraska's probably like an 8.5 to a 9.5 favorite. It'll tick up to about 10.5 before game time starts at Arrowhead Stadium. Okay, that's what I see in this first game. Then you have Akron and Houston Christian. I think that these are wins. Okay, looking at the schedule, they are, appropriate time slots, okay, for Nebraska. You got a night game against Akron. This is famously the game which was supposed to be Scott Frost's first game, and kind of foreshadowing, I guess a red herring, I guess they would say in English class, is how this game was rained out and postponed. Okay, that might have been the beginning of the end, is that first game, Scott Frost, tunnel walk, Nebraska-Akron, lightning delay, the game gets postponed. All right. Boy, a home game at home against Michigan. 3:30 on CBS, undefeated Nebraska versus Michigan. Just want to see who Michigan is playing before Nebraska. They are going to play at Oklahoma, so you're going to learn about them. Bryce Underwood is going to be really, really talented. Nebraska kind of has to win this game. You're getting a freshman quarterback. You're getting a coach that I'm not even sure is going to be coaching this team. A lot of new. Michigan has a new offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey. You have a bye week the next week. You got to go out there and win this game. So the thing I love about the schedule is that you are literally home from August until mid-October. So all of September, you get a bye and you're home. So you should stay relatively healthy and you should win every single football game. Michigan State at home, that should be an absolute win, okay? Now, Michigan State might be a little bit better, but can you beat Michigan State decisively? Then you go on the road to Maryland and Minnesota. That Minnesota game is a Friday night under the lights at night, okay? You have Michigan State at home, Maryland, and Minnesota. All right, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lose one of these games knowing Nebraska. Nebraska is not going to win all of these games. They're going to beat Michigan, but they're going to choke one of these games. And I would say that the trip to Maryland, that trip sucks, okay? You're going to get home very late from your first road trip, and then you flip to go play Minnesota on a Friday night. I think Minnesota's going to be better. They have a great safety in Coy Parrish. Their quarterback is phenomenal. And let's see. Before they play Nebraska, they have a home game against Purdue. That is not good. Let's see. They have a bye week in the middle of their season. That is not good. Minnesota's going to be favored to win that game. All right, so overall, Nebraska. I'm actually going to have them beating Maryland as well. So I have them going 5-1 to start the year. Or actually, that would be 6-1. So already bowl eligible, 6-1 for Nebraska. Then they come home. You get an extra day to play Northwestern on Saturday. That's a must-win game. I'm going to have you winning that game to go to 7-1. Then Nebraska is going to play USC and UCLA, okay? I might have them losing these games. I think USC will match up athletically with Nebraska. Now, It's a long kind of road trip for USC, and USC has an off week before they play Nebraska. I think that you're going to see more wrinkles there. I'm not liking that spot for Nebraska. And then Nebraska goes to UCLA. They go out to LA. It's getting bad. They have no break. You have Maryland. You go to Minnesota. You have a game against USC. UCLA is at home November 8th. That is going to be just a really tall task to beat UCLA. Before UCLA plays Nebraska, they have a bye week as well. So that I'm telling you, UCLA is going to be fresh and ready to rock and roll probably when they play Nebraska. Then Nebraska has at Penn State. So I have them taking 3 losses here, okay? And then Iowa to end the season at home. I think I'll give them the win there at 12 o'clock, I guess on CBS Black Friday. I have Nebraska still around 8-4. All right, still around 7-5. I have them 7-4 when they play Nebraska and when they play Iowa. So I have them losing UCLA and USC. I have them losing Penn State, and then I also have them losing to Minnesota. I have them winning every single other game on their schedule. I think that UCLA game's going to be tough. I think that Minnesota game's going to be really hard. I think they beat Michigan at home, which is a really substantial win. Their biggest games are probably USC at home, Michigan at home, and then Iowa. If you can win all 3 of those games, there's a chance that you might even win 9 games in the football season. So you look at it, is there a path right here to 9-3? Which 9-3 I think would be the peak for Nebraska, okay? I would be incredibly impressed if they're 9-3. If they're 7-5, I'm underwhelmed a bit. 8-4 is kind of where you expect to be. You're not like on cloud 9, but you're not really frustrated either, okay? So Cincinnati should be a win. Michigan, early in the year, you get them at home, 3:30, you should have a great game, then go to the bye. Everybody's going to be drinking the Kool-Aid at that point. Michigan State at home, let's see, probably a sloppy win off of the bye. But then you go to Maryland and Minnesota. That's where Nebraska will turn into Nebraska. They're going to lose those games. The fans think they're going to roll right through to USC. They're going to lose one of those trap games there. And then USC and UCLA, I don't see them winning those games, okay? I don't see them going out to the Rose Bowl and executing. Then they have Penn State and Iowa, so it's a backloaded schedule. This schedule in the back half, USC, UCLA, Minnesota is tucked in there. At Minnesota is a tougher game than hosting the University of Michigan at home. And then Iowa to end the year. It's a very, very tough October and November schedule. I mean, you go out and play USC, you're going to be playing at Penn State, and then you play Iowa, USC. Like, that's a really tough back half of your schedule. The front half of your schedule is very, very manageable. So that's how I view Nebraska. I'm going to say that they are going to go 8-4 in the schedule. I think I might even have them beat Iowa to end the year off 8-4. They're going to win that game, and then they'll play in some bowl game, and unfortunately, I just see it being average, okay? All right? But it's not as bad as some think. I think that they're going to beat Michigan. I think they'll beat Cincinnati. I think they'll beat Michigan State and Maryland. I think Northwestern's a win. So I'm giving them a lot of wins on this schedule as well. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's possible that they get to 9 wins? I mean, that would be pretty unbelievable. I would set the over-under for Nebraska at 7.5. I would set it at 7.5 or maybe at 8 on the number. I think 8, I would set it at an even 8 to see, okay, can they get right to 8, 7.5. If it was 8.5, I'd probably take the under in this schedule. Let me know what you guys think about Nebraska. All right?